Guys, welcome back to the all-new, all-different Fanholes Sidecast. A little picture-in-picture commentary going on. We're going to be doing something a little different today. We're going to be looking at some trailers and some footage of unreleased video games. And since with me here is...
Brian Breakdown, what's up, guys?
And since Brian is our game aficionado expert, I invited him to join me on this sidecast, and we're just going to take a look at some unreleased video games. So we'll get started. We'll do the patented countdown, the 1, 2, 3, and on 3 we're going to hit play and watch along. So on 1, 2, 3. So the first one up we've got is the Superman arcade game, and this is actually based on I guess it's based on the animated series, but it's also from the same company that brought us the infamous, scary, million rings you gotta fly through N64 game, but I guess this is maybe the tweaked, the better version of it.
I think at the time they thought they probably couldn't make a worse version, so they decided to make a game that's better.
Yeah, so you got like the little spider guys roaming around here, and then little character designs and stuff. What do you think of the graphics on this? Is this something that you're...
I wouldn't say I'm digging it. It reminds me a lot, actually, of the Nintendo 64 game, what I've seen of it.
Everything's kind of like pixely and blocky and stuff. Like you kind of get spoiled by today's graphics and everything. But even when you're picking up that box and throwing it, it kind of reminds me of in the old 64 game where you had to pick up a car and throw it away from a bomb or something like that.
And with his cape being like so stiff, I mean, I would assume that at least the people working on it, this was probably like a very early like PlayStation 1 game, you know. Yeah. There wasn't a lot of advancement in the graphics at that time.
Right. Yeah, and so now he's deep diving, right? So I don't know. This is kind of like, I guess there were plenty of action figures they had to sell and everything, but I guess he's diving a bit better than Aquaman did in his Xbox game. So I'll give him that much. Okay, so now we're on to Daredevil. This was supposed to be a movie tie-in game. I think it was supposed to come around the same time as the movie, but kind of like the Punisher Xbox game. Obviously it looks a lot more like the comics and everything.
Like, I'm sad this didn't actually come out because as much as I hated the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie, I could have pointed to this at least as one thing good that came out of that whole thing, but unfortunately it didn't make it.
Yeah, I kind of like the way he's swinging around with his billy club and everything like that, and some of the scenes where he's kind of sliding down and everything. It kind of reminds me of like the Mirror's Edge type stuff, like those kind of games where you might get some kind of perspective of height and everything. Kind of the same way you swing in Spider-Man 2 or those kind of things.
Yeah, it looks to me like a free roaming beat 'em up, which I mean both those are awesome gameplay mechanics. The graphics look pretty good for a PlayStation game. Yeah, like I said, I'm sad it didn't come out.
Yeah, that's too bad. And then here it kind of looks like he's using like his radar sense and stuff like that.
I never knew how bad I wanted a Daredevil game until I saw this trailer.
So that's Daredevil. And then coming up next, right after this, change. Thank you, Daredevil. This is actually from the Vertigo comics. It's 100 Bullets, which is by Brian Azzarello. And, the basic premise of that is the guy gets a suitcase of bullets, and they're all supposed to be untraceable. And so it's kind of like, what would you do, with the bullets? But I guess they decided to make a video game of it at one point. But I guess this was supposed to be by Acclaim, and I guess Acclaim went bankrupt. I guess while they were making it, so the game never was released. But it looks kind of like a basic kind of like shooter story game to me.
Yeah, it looks really good. What I was impressed with was one, like the voice acting seemed really decent, and on early games, even in the PlayStation 2 era, that didn't happen real often.
Yeah.
And the graphics too reminded me of a game called Fear Effect I played, which was a very good game.
And so here, this is something that, Justin would probably be all excited about. But I kind of refer to this, it's Archie's Riverdale Run, but I kind of refer to this as Grand Theft Archie when I first saw the video for this. Because it's kind of it looks like you're sort of open world through Riverdale. and you're of course running around, getting things, and you're able to, drive around in cars and kind of roam around Riverdale. But I guess as opposed to getting your Coke stash or whatever, you're picking up hearts and
Yeah.
Valentines and stuff like that. I mean, is
Yeah, I
this
didn't. Go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, is this anything you'd play at all? Like, just even
No,
for
no, no.
even for
I was
shits
gonna
and
say I'll
giggles?
leave most of the commentary up to Derek on this thing.
No, I mean, I've read plenty of Archie comics, I guess, since I started doing the history of comics and stuff, and so this was something I had come across at one point, while I was like doing research and stuff, and it kind of cracked me up because I'm like, oh yeah, it's Archie, but like Grand Theft Auto, or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, so it kind of cracked me up. I mean, I think it'd be cool, like, any kind of game like this where you have a big world of characters, whether it's like The Simpsons or Archie or anything, to play the game and have to get objectives and even maybe play as different characters. Like, it seems like it would be kind of fun. But
Yeah. There seems to be a little confusion in the art direction that I noticed. I wondered if it's just because it's an easy or an early build, but like the gameplay looks, it has a unique style. Then they got all those comic cutscenes, which is another style in itself.
Right.
And then they have a CGI like style cutscenes at times too.
Right.
So
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And it's like the Jughead's getting burgers and Archie's getting hearts.
yeah. Where are the hookers you got to beat up?
Yeah, I know. That's what I was saying. It's like the Riverdale hookers and the Coke stashes that Mr. Weatherby has, like, tucked away. But see, it looks like there you could play as like Veronica and as Hot Dog, and there's the what's his face, the butler or whatever. Like, it looks like you could play as a bunch of different missions or people.
I wonder if it's almost, well, I guess you can play as different characters, but it seems almost like a dating game or something for Archie.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like that he's got to accomplish things to go on dates and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would make sense. But then you're like, does Moose have to go on the date too? Or does why would all these other characters have to accomplish things? I guess there's all kinds of like storylines. Because it's like he's driving around in like the lawnmower in one scene, and then there he was driving around in a motorbike with somebody riding shotgun. And of course, I'm sure I was reading like some people can't stand this background music, and other people probably think it's the hippest Archie song they've ever heard. So I don't know.
If I was still in the '90s, I'd probably think, "Wow, that's a badass Archie song."
And so then I guess we're moving on now. Now this was something that you actually introduced me to. This is the Gotham by Gaslight footage for the video game, but Gotham by Gaslight was a Elseworlds DC comic book that Mike Mignola did the art for, where basically, it's Batman in Victorian England, and he's hunting down Jack the Ripper. But, what were your thoughts like? Because you were the one who sort of introduced me to it.
I can't remember where I found this like video at or how I came across it, but I was pretty blown away by it. Even having played games like Arkham Asylum or Arkham City, this looks like a very good Batman game. And it sounds like a weird compliment, but that's like the best cape I've ever seen in a video game. Like the most good-looking cape
yeah, it does
ever.
look really cool. Like, So and then it's kind of cool that they wanted to they were adventurous enough to switch things up, because I know sometimes when you get into a successful pattern, whether it's like Arkham Asylum, then they want to make kind of like the same thing again but a little different with Arkham City. But this seems like they took the same kind of engine and mold, that it's from his perspective and everything, but it's still set in Victorian England, and it looks all kind of foggy and like London would look, so.
Mm-hmm. I hadn't read the book ever, but the setting, just based on what I can see in the gameplay, looks really cool. I wish I knew more about why this never came out. I wonder if being like only an Elsewhere title.
I think like they said that this was supposed to be put together by Day One Studios, and they were trying to pitch it, but that was like after the release of Arkham Asylum, so they ended up like, I guess they made a pitch and said, hey, check this out, like this is something we can do, but I guess the pitch didn't go over, so.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe, there's a certain demographic that likes Batman, and then you're going Elseworlds, and, the demographic that likes Batman Elseworlds maybe this big, so.
Right. Or maybe even, that whole, I mean, how many Western games or steampunk games do you see? So.
Right.
And so this last one, I guess it's kind of apropos, it's topical. The Avengers game, which Avengers now has been posed to make like billions and billions of dollars worldwide. You know, it's the highest grossing comic book movie there's been, I guess. And apparently the THQ in Australia went bankrupt or something and couldn't finish this game. But this is what would have been released to tie in to the Avengers movie, but was not.
Yeah, even the US THQ is like having serious financial trouble right now. I know like the CEO of Take-Two Interactive said something like they wouldn't be around by the end of the year, and he kind of withdrew his comments later because he got some flack, but the company as a whole isn't doing that well.
Yeah. What do you think of this pre-released footage and stuff? Like, are you into those kind of perspective games where we're just kind of seeing Hulk hands and Iron hands?
Honestly, I think going first person kind of limits the game, especially like when you have like a basically melee character only with the Hulk. I think it'd be much better going third person. But as I watched the video the first time, I noticed that like almost all the movements and stuff, they're not contextual. They all like pre-canned. And then that made me wonder if maybe this game was supposed to tie in either with like the PlayStation Move, where you had the motion controls, and so that's why Iron Man only has like 3 punches, is because that's something that's easily mapped.
Yeah.
Or maybe even the Xbox Kinect or something.
Yeah, that makes sense. This also kind of reminds me of there was another Marvel game that I played on the Wii, and it was the same first-person perspective. So I started to wonder if they used that as the base engine or something for it, because it was like you were basically fighting like the Collector instead of the Skrulls, and so he had you like assigned to different games and stuff. And when you were walking around in a circle, you were kind of like the Hulk here, where you could only see your fists and stuff from that perspective.
I like as the Hulk plays, you can see the Hulk is also playing in the background too.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's going to be co-op and like you could both pick the Hulk or something.
I think part of it's supposed to be that the Skrulls are adapting and learning their powers, because I think if you see later, like there's actually a X-Men War Skrull and like a like the Super Skrull, like you'll see like it looks like Cyclops and Wolverine, and that can see how it's like Thor Super Skrull or whatever. Like they've got all these different powers and stuff from the other Marvel characters, like they did in the comics and stuff.
Here is another thing that makes me think motion control gimmick is the snapping of the neck. So I don't know, I'm pretty
how it's like Wolverine sort of, and Cyclops, so.
If this game had come out, it probably on my from my viewpoint, it'd probably be one of those games that fell into the rental, not purchase.
Right. I'd probably wait till it got cheap or something like that. But yeah, so those are all the trailers that we've got and gameplay footage. Obviously, it's not super long, but we just kind of offered some commentary on it. Maybe you'd never heard of any of these games that haven't been released before, and you learned something new. Please keep checking us out on Fanholes Podcast. You can send us emails at fanholespodcast@gmail.com. You can check us out on the blog spot, and thanks for tuning in.